even with how beloved Miku concerts are, there's still a lot of confusion and questions about how they're done, leading to many misconceptions about the concerts. So today I'm going to be explaining or debunking the main misconceptions people have about Hatsune Miku concerts. The first misconception almost everyone has is about how the performances are done, with many wondering if the performance happens in real time, with people behind the scenes in motion tracking suits acting out and performing during the concert. And while that is the case for some virtual concerts, it isn't the case for Miku concerts. Everything you see is motion captured, that part is right. However, all of the performances and speeches are all pre-recorded in advance, where they then go on to get tweaked and finalising all the extra visuals or effects that will be added to the performance so that it's all ready for the concert and they can just play it. So even though essentially the concerts are just someone pressing play on a render, it doesn't take away from all of the effort that goes into these performances. Plus, this makes more sense for Miku concerts because Miku and the others aren't real. They don't have a set personality and they don't have set actors behind them like other virtual idols. So having people behind them being them doesn't really make sense for them. So I do understand why some people think, why are you paying for an MP4 file to be played? But it just makes more sense for them, especially with the amount of concerts that they do. Another main misconception is that the Lightsticks change automatically. When people see the concert videos, they see how when each character comes on stage, all of the Lightsticks in the crowd change colour and assume that it's done automatically. But that isn't the case. While a lot of idols with Lightsticks have automatic ones that sync up and connect for another interesting light show, the Lightsticks at Miku concerts are manually controlled by the user. There is a button on the Lightstick that when you press it, it cycles through all of the colours available, which all correspond to the colours of each character, as well as a white one. I can see why people think it's automatic, as the crowds are very quick with it, but it is all manual and people changing it on their own. And you can see that it is manual in some songs where some people don't know what colour it should be. Like in Streaming Heart, it's Miku performing, but there's a lot of red light sticks. And also any time that Rin or Len is on stage, some people confuse which colour is which for them, so when they're performing you can always see a mix of yellow and orange, which by the way, since this is technically a misconception, Len is yellow and Rin is orange. You can see it in the opening sequences when they're introduced. But yes, the light sticks changing isn't automatically synced up with their system, it's all the crowds doing as they manually switch between the colours for each character. There is always a wowaka song. As popular as a producer as he is, there is not always a wowaka song at Miku concerts. Yes, his songs are very popular, so have a likelihood of being chosen, but there's not a wowaka song at every single Miku concert. But I do think I know where this misconception came from. In 2019, after Wowaka's passing, a tribute was held at Magical Mirai 2019, and at each concert, a different wowaka song was performed as part of the tribute. The tribute then went on to happen at Miku Expo Europe in 2020, and I believe this is what makes people think there is always a wowaka song, as he thinks it's a tribute to him to always have one of his songs at every concert. But the tribute only happened a short while after his death, as well as featuring as part of Magical Mirai's 10th anniversary in 2022, paying tribute to him again, but this isn't a common thing. His songs have just as much chance of performing as any other song, and as nice as it would be for one of his songs to always be there, I feel like if that were to happen, it would get to a point where they're overperformed, and I don't think anyone wants that. In a similar vein, World Is Mine is performed at every concert, and while it is true World Is Mine is performed a lot, it's not performed at every single concert. In fact, it's actually quite rare now for it to perform in Japan. But overseas, it did used to perform at every single concert. All the way from Miku Expo LA and New York in 2014 to Miku With You 2024, every single Miku concert that happened overseas, World Is Mine was performed. It used to be the song to be 100% guaranteed to perform at Miku Expo. Now I say used to because it recently broke that streak, as it didn't perform at Miku Expo Europe in 2024, which still blows my mind that the one song you used to know was 100% going to be there no longer has that title. So I guess that crown goes to Tell Your World now. Even with this, and how disappointed I know a lot of people felt at the Europe 2024 concerts, that doesn't mean World Is Mine is going to stop performing, but it just means that it now has a chance of not performing, and will likely go on a decline and not perform at every show. But in terms of overseas shows, I can still see it being performed in a majority, so don't worry about it disappearing, it likely never will fully. So no, World Is Mine is not performed at every single Miku concert, it's just performed at the majority of overseas concerts. They keep skipping Luka. Without fail, at every Miku Expo, after Rin, Len, Kaito and Meiko have had their turns at the concert, everybody turns their light stick to pink, waiting for Luka, only to be completely psyched out by Miku appearing again. And each and every song after that, they will turn their light sticks to pink, only to be psyched out by Miku twice, thrice, and more until Luka finally comes on. After Miku Expo 2024, I saw many people complaining about how Luka performed really late into the concert, but this is actually pretty normal. For a long time now, Luka hasn't performed with the rest rest of the characters, and instead performs at the later end of the concert. I'm not sure why, but she does. It's the case for the 2024 Expos, and many other Expos beforehand, and she even does it in Magical Mirai, which is a little strange, because back in the early concerts, Luka used to be the first out of the other characters to perform after Miku, but I guess she just prefers to perform later now. So no, they don't forget Luka, she just prefers to keep you waiting for her performances. Miku Expo is an exhibition. Once upon a time, this statement was true, however that is not the case anymore. During the first Miku Expos, there were some small exhibitions. I know Miku Expo 2014 had a decent sized one, but over time they started getting smaller and smaller until there was nothing. I remember for Miku Expo Europe 2018, there was a very small cardboard stand with just a map and some of the tour's artwork, and a little explanation about Miku Expo, a table for people to make a Miku shrine, as well as the IRL version of Let's Paint, which I'm kinda sad that they don't do anymore. And then at Miku Expo Europe 2020, I believe all they had was a playable demo of Project Diva Mega Mix for the Switch, and a prototype of the Miku Expo 5th anniversary figure. And that was the last time Miku Expo had any type of exhibition, as when they returned for 2024, they prioritized the quantity of concerts and locations to make up for the years that they didn't tour, and to ensure that they could visit as many people as they could. Carrying around an exhibition would have slowed them down. And honestly, I understand that because of just how high the demand for concerts were, and just because that demand is still so high, I highly doubt there will ever be an exhibition with the concerts again, just so that they can get to everybody. The number of locations and concerts they did in 2024 is so much higher than what they did before, with the 2018 USA and Mexico tour only having 7 locations compared to 2024's 17 locations. It's so much more traveling than what they used to do, so in order to keep up that high number of locations, they have to move fast, which unfortunately means the dropping of the exhibition. To be honest, it is sad, but if it means more people can get to see Miku, I think it's a worthy sacrifice. Every song can be performed at Miku Expo. Unfortunately, it's the reality that even if a song is lucky enough to be performed live at a Miku event, there is a chance that it can't perform at Miku Expo, and there is an explanation for it. Every time Miku Expo rolls around, I see people hoping for many songs to be at the concert, but unfortunately, some of these songs cannot perform at Miku Expo because it has a small stage. What I mean by that is, when a song is performed at Magical Mirai, if the characters cross the entirety of that stage, that song cannot be performed at Miku Expo because Miku Expo's stage is about half the size of Magical Mirai's stage, so some songs' performances physically cannot fit on a Miku Expo stage. Some songs in the past have been adapted from a wider performance to a smaller one, like Remote Control and Odds and Ends. However, it's not really the case anymore, as typically if Krypton possibly intends for a new song to be performed overseas, then they would just create the performance so it can already fit on a smaller stage, instead of creating a wider one that they then have to go back and edit or completely remake just to bring it to a smaller stage. So if the song hasn't been adapted to fit by now, it likely never will, and so will never perform at Miku Expo. For example, I see many people hoping for Shake It at Miku Expo, but that performance not only has 3 characters on stage at once, which has never happened for a full performance on a smaller stage before, but also with this type of performance, with all the flipping and crossing the stage, it would just not look right on a smaller stage. Here are some songs that so far only have a wide performance, so are really unlikely at this point to be adapted for Miku Expo. Sorry to break anyone's hearts, but these songs in particular, I find it really unlikely they'll ever be adapted, and will keep as a Magical Mirai exclusive. But speaking of Magical Mirai exclusive, is that people hope for Magical Mirai theme songs to be performed at Miku Expo. Now, it's not completely false, as one Magical Mirai theme song has been performed at Miku Expo, and that is Sand Planet, which not only was it adapted for a smaller stage, but Miku was also changed out of her Magical Mirai 2017 outfit and into her default one. However, this song was likely only brought to Miku Expo because it also doubled up as Miku's 10th anniversary song, so it was brought overseas in celebration of her 10th anniversary, and the reason why I believe this is because it's only been performed overseas in 2018 and 2019, and has not featured overseas since. You could argue it's because of the lack of overseas concerts from 2020 to 2023 that it never got the chance to again, but I still find it unlikely. Even so, that is the only Magical Mirai theme song you could possibly hope for at Miku Expo, as all of the others have no other reason to be adapted to the Miku Expo stage, and most of them have been Magical Mirai exclusive, with a couple others only featuring at other events with larger stages. Especially Hand in Hand, which I see many people hope for. At this point, it's the Magical Mirai theme song, and I don't think they'll ever let it perform outside of Mirai again, other than a possible one-off event that also has a larger stage. I doubt it will ever be adapted for it to be brought overseas. So sorry to break your hearts again, but if you want to see a Magical Mirai theme song live, you'll have to go to Magical Mirai and hope that it performs. This one is a pretty new misconception, but it's that Project Sekai commission songs cannot be performed at the main Miku concerts. Now, I don't really know much when it comes to the game, but whether the song was commissioned for Project Sekai in general or specifically for a character, it doesn't matter because these songs are often released with a virtual singer version. Krypton, while they don't own the game, they are one of the developers and have a core influence, considering all the virtual singers belong to them, and they also likely have a hand in the commissioning process of these songs along with Sega, and since these songs are always released with a virtual singer version, they can likely approach and ask permission to perform that version of the song like any other song, just as we've recently seen at Magical Mirai 2024 with Pulse of the Meteor. I guess people think since these songs were created for the game, that copyright issues would prevent them from being performed at the main Miku events. Again, I have no idea about the game or its development, so do feel free to correct me, but I assume since Krypton's characters are so deeply involved and embedded into the game, that there is definitely leniency for them to ask permission to perform these songs. Plus, while not as involved as they used to be, Sega still has a part in the main Miku concerts today, so there definitely isn't a huge wall of copyright between these two companies, locking these songs away, the same way theme songs commissioned for the main Miku concerts like Magical Mirai appear in Project Sekai, as well as how songs Sega commissioned for Project Diva, like Catch the Wave and Satisfaction, still perform at main Miku concerts today with no problem. As long as the producer gives permission for it to be performed, there is nothing stopping these songs featuring at the main Miku concerts. This also goes for songs that weren't originally written with the Vocaloids. For example, at Magical Mirai 2024, Odo was performed by Rin and Len, but this song was originally written for Ado, and we also have some Miku cover performances like Shentaku or Shining Star. I assume the process of getting permission for these songs to be performed would be a little more complicated than Project Sekai songs, but at least for Odo, Giga officially released a Kagamine version of the song, so I assume that they just asked permission for that version of the song like any of his other songs. And considering Ado's whole history with Vocaloid, if her permission was needed, I imagine she would have been honoured for a song written for her to be performed at an official Miku event. Now, the biggest misconception, especially with non-fans, is that it's just AI or just a screen, which I can't disagree more with, because every single thing that you see at these concerts, there is a human behind it. Her voice, her tuning, her movements, her songs, her outfits, the light shows, the music, there is a human behind every single one of these. Obviously, every fan goes to the concerts for their own reasons, but for me, Miku concerts are so much more than just watching an anime character dance on the screen. To me, these concerts symbolize so much more than that. First of all, Miku and the others are instruments, created to give voice and characters to people's projects. They aren't the generative AI like people like to claim. Their voices were provided by consenting voice actors that were paid for their services, and the detailed singing that you hear in these songs don't just happen by putting lyrics in. The producers have to manually create and calibrate every note, fluctuation, and breath they want the voice to do. So in a way, using the Vocaloids' voices and engines is an art form in itself. It's something that you have to learn like every other instrument. There are tools to help make it easier, but it's still an entire program and form that you need to learn, especially when many people have to experiment and discover their own tuning style. People that go to these concerts aren't okay with AI. The voice providers were fairly paid for their work, and every song that is performed at these concerts were made by a human being, all fine-tuning and experimenting their music style, as well as learning the Vocaloid program to let these characters sing the way they want them to. The Vocaloid characters give a name, face, and or voice to people's projects, opening a door for many creators that otherwise would have been closed for them. For example, say someone wants to become a music producer, but they can't sing, or they're starting right from the beginning and would have no chance or connections to hire anyone to sing for them. Or maybe they don't think they'd be able to work well with someone else. Well, the Vocaloids can provide that voice. Instead of their dreams being blocked, Vocaloid opens that door for them, providing the voice that they could not acquire otherwise. And the Vocaloids don't just provide the voice, they provide the character as well. Even though their main focus is the fact that they're a voice instrument, their characters are widely popular. I'm sure you see how Miku is practically everywhere, and many people enjoy these characters without knowing any of the songs featuring them. Miku's character was advertised and teased months before she released as a voice bank, which garnered up the hype for her character. So when she finally released and the producers published their songs with Miku's name or character in the title or video, it instantly drew the attention of people that may not even like the genre of music that the song was, but they were interested in Miku. The Vocaloid characters attracted people to their songs, and if they enjoyed it, they stuck around, helping many producers garner a fan base where otherwise they may have struggled. Many of the popular producers around say they all started in their bedrooms with a dream, and the Vocaloids have allowed them to reach it. Let's use Deco Nina for example. He's one of the largest Vocaloid producers around now, and works very closely with Krypton for projects regarding Miku. But when he started, he was only in college admiring Miku's character and the already established producers at the time, KZ Livetune and Supercell. lifestyle, and in just a couple years, he joined them in being one of the more prominent producers. Miku isn't just an anime character or an AI voice, she's an opportunity for those to achieve their dreams. That goes for music producers, artists, storytellers, anyone. And that's why her concerts are more than just a screen to me. Yes, it's just a projection, but it's a projection of so many producers' works that have gained so much popularity, there's whole crowds enjoying it. Miku and the others cannot write the songs themselves, so their concerts are a collection of so many producers that were able to achieve their dream of music production because of their characters, because of their voices, when otherwise they likely would have never dreamed that their song would be enjoyed at a concert by crowds of the thousands and even overseas. That's why these concerts are so much more to me. Obviously, not everyone sees it like that. Some people are just interested in the characters, but it's still very rare you won't find people going to these concerts who aren't hoping to see a specific song or just hoping to see any song by a specific producer. And for the argument of still saying it's just a screen, there is a live band. So many talented musicians over the years have been the backbone of Miku concerts ever since the beginning. There has always been a live band, and I have so much love and respect for them as they have never messed up, and there's no room for error at these concerts because it's not like the singer can just stop and restart the song. They are also playing for close to 2 hours straight with very little breaks, as Miku doesn't really stop to chat or interact with the crowd very much like other singers. Insult Miku and the others as much as you want, it's not like they can hear you, but do not disrespect the amazing band members. These concerts would not be a thing without humans, without the fans. Vocaloids cannot make songs, dance, or perform without the fans. Without people that create music, without people who create art, without people who create the choreography, without the people performing in the band, Miku solely relies on people. She is not AI replacing anyone, she's a character that uplifts creators, and in turn, the creators let her live on, through their music, through their art, through their stories. There is no fans without Miku, and there is no Miku without fans, and it will always be that way. These concerts are a collection of so many people's works, all in one place, none of which would have been able to happen without the Vocaloids, and the concerts would never be able to happen without the fans, without the humans. So no, Miku is not AI, and it's not just a screen. The concerts symbolize so much more than face value, which you won't truly understand unless you are a fan. Anyway, with that more weighted misconception, that's all of the misconceptions I'm going to be going over today. These are the main ones I've seen people confused over, but if there are any others that I haven't covered, do tell me, because I know misconceptions can spread really quickly, proven by the fact that people think Miku actually sung Fiend at Miku Expo. But I hope you enjoyed, and let me know if there's any other misconceptions you'd like me to cover.